Hey Stampers! Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Judith Patterson. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Texas, and today I'm going to show you how to make a really simple easel card. I almost forgot what it was called. I'm using a stamp set from the annual catalog, and I'm also using the dies that coordinate with it perfectly. This is the Color and Contour stamp set. And today I'm making a Here For You Now card. So I know it's the holiday season, and hopefully you are having a fantastic season with your family and friends. But I know some of us struggle at this time of year for whatever reason. There's a lot of reasons that people might be having a tough time. So I thought this would be a good card to make to let somebody know that you're thinking of them, you love them, and you're here for them. So, of course, this is a great card for any time of the year to do that too. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you a couple of announcements. Not announcements, just let you know what's going on. Usually I do a Facebook Live on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Central Time. But with it being right before Christmas, I think Friday is Christmas Eve, there's a lot happening this week. So I will not be doing a live on Thursday. And on Friday, I'm not going to be posting my card from the catalog video on YouTube like I normally do. So I just wanted to give you a heads up not to be watching for those. I will get back on it the following week, but and I will still blog those days, but I will not be doing videos. So this will be my last video of the week. Let me see. But not the year. We'll still do another video the next week before the end of the year, but just barely. All right, so now I'm going to flip this camera around and let's start stamping. Okay, so again, I'm using the Color and Contour set. I'll be using the flower stamp, this stamp here. I'm going to use these two little ones, and I'm using Here For You Now and In Better Days Ahead and the splatter stamp. Got to use the splatter stamp. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is grab, I'm using two colors. I'm using Melon Mambo and Old Olive. And this time I cut my cardstock in half long ways instead of horizontally. So it measures 11 inches by 5.5 inches. I'm going to score it at 2 3/4 inches and 5.5 inches. So a rule of thumb when you're making easel cards is to, of course, score it in half and then take that half and score it in half again. I did it backwards, but that's because I knew what I was doing. I already had my measurements all worked out in my head ahead of time. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold this over. I'm grabbing my bone folder here, and I'm going to give this a little crease. Then I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half again, just this front flap, and give it another really good crease. And look, I have Stampin' dimensional backings everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to get a 4 by 5 1/4 sheet of basic white cardstock. It has a little speck on that side, so I'm just going to flip it over. I'm going to use the flower on the stem with Old Olive. And I'm going to stamp it towards the center left of the card, but I don't want it too close to the edge because I'm going to be using a die to cut this out. Go ahead and close this up. And something I probably should have done first, going to use the splatter stamp. Stamp it once and then stamp it again. And stamp it once and stamp it again. Then I'm going to use the this part to shade your flowers. So I'm going to stamp off once on a scrap piece of paper. Then I'm just going to stamp over those flowers. It won't line up perfectly, but it will be close. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab that die cut. So this isn't the largest die from this Scalloped Contours dies. It's the second largest. So I'm grabbing that. I'm going to trim half an inch off of this so that it will fit in my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I forgot I was using the small one just because it's easier to use while I'm filming. When you make this card, you will need the standard size Stamp Cut and Emboss machine, because for the inside we're going to be using that large die. Okay, so I'm just centering this up on here. So now the next thing I'm going to do is use my little embossing buddy. Remember, you can use a used dryer sheet to get the static out of the cardstock. I'm using Versamark to ink up my stamp. And I'm going to stamp Here For You Now going across the bottom of this stem in Versamark. I'm hoping it's straight. I can see through the stamp, but I'm really bad about getting things crooked. I don't hang things on my walls. My husband does that, because if I were to do it, it would all be crooked. I'm just going to pour that over there. And I'm going to do it again. Okay, so I have a little brush here because I've been noticing lately that I'm not, when I tap it, I haven't been getting all the black off around my image. And I do want all the little black bits away as much as possible. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and set that with the heat tool. And then this part we're going to glue right here, but I'm going to wait just a minute. I'm going to let that cool off just a smidge. So the next thing I'm going to do is grab thick basic white. You can use regular basic white, and you can use all basic white. I'm making this thick because it's going to go on the inside to hold up our card when we make it an easel. So I'm going to just put... First, I'm going to stamp. I'm going to stamp the flower outline with Old Olive right here on this basic white. Then I'm going to use the Melon Mambo to stamp the inside. And I am going to stamp off once and then stamp inside the flower. Okay, so before I cut it, I'm going to glue these 3 pieces of cardstock together just so they're nice and thick. And they don't all have to be the same size of cardstock. I just grabbed scraps. And I'm only gluing just a portion together so I can still cut these apart and use them later. So there's that. And there is that one. And I think I might have ink on my fingers. Nope. Okay, so while that glue is drying, I'm going to go ahead and get this. And I went ahead, so that I didn't have to bring my big stamp cut and emboss machine over here, I cut this out using that largest die from Scalloped Contours. So I cut out the basic white and I stamped and embossed the sentiment for the inside, just like we did for the front. Doesn't want to focus. That's okay. So I'm just going to add some liquid glue to the back of this and place it inside the card. Okay, then I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to center it about like I want it, and this line down the center is my guide. I don't want to put glue above that. I'm just going to keep it all below. Going to center that up. Pressing down on the bottom and just flipping it, so I'm just turning it to make sure I don't have any adhesive on the other side. I still have a little bit of wiggle room, thank goodness, because it was crooked. Okay, so the front is done, and then for the inside, going to grab my paper snips, and I'm just going to really quickly fussy cut around this flower. Okay, so now I'm just going to use that liquid glue one more time on the back of the flower. And we're going to put it right here next to the sentiment. Then you can prop your card open just like that. And you have a nice, simple, quick easel card. So I hope that this inspires you to make an easel card or something fun, and realize that you don't have to have tons and tons of products to make things like this. We only used 2 ink colors and white cardstock, and Melon Mambo cardstock is really all that you need. I did use a couple of, the thick cardstock and the old olive cardstock, but that's not required. I just had it handy, and I thought the extra thickness might help out a little bit. And also the dies. The dies pretty it up some, but if you don't have the die machine and you're not ready to buy it, then you can just do rectangles. Maybe get a corner punch and make the corners pretty. But that's a quick card. Didn't take much time and could really brighten somebody's day. All right, well, I hope y'all have a very Merry Christmas and be safe out there, y'all. Happy stamping.